Shohei Ohtani and the Dodgers go for the sweep in Cleveland. Can a guardian on hell slow down the boys in blue? This is MLB Game Night.
When that final out is made, you know it's time for Locked On MLB Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. Prepare to experience game day reactions like never before. Only on Locked On MLB Game Night. Your team every day.
Hello there, baseball fans, and welcome into MLB Game Night, every game, every night. I am your host, J.D. Hafron from Locked On Cardinals. My co-host and better-looking half, Jon Frisch of Locked On Angels. A big day for the underdogs coming up on today's show. Paul Skeens, he shoves in Arizona, another tight one between Boston and the Brewers, but we're going to start in the land known as Cleveland. Dodgers at the Guardians, the one and only Clayton Kershaw. He's back on the bump for LA, one of the all-time greats, making his third start since coming off the IL as they try to sweep the Guardians in Cleveland. Here's Justin from Locked On Guardians with how this shorthanded Cleveland team fared against LA.
Cleveland Guardians this year expect the unexpected. Didn't have guys like Colby Allard, Nolan Jones, Will Wilson, maybe not even Angel Martinez on the card this year for big contributors, but that is how things had to unfold for the Guardians to get a win against the Dodgers to avoid a sweep. This is Justin Latta from Locked On Guardians. The Guardians did avoid a sweep. They did enough against Clayton Kershaw to keep it close. The offense picked things up late, but it was Colby Allard who started things. Again, another unsung hero, another unexpected hero. Had to make the start because Slade Cecconi's start got pushed back due to a groin issue. The Guardians say he's okay. He'll pitch on Saturday. And then Stephen Kwan came out for 2 at-bats with a wrist issue. The Guardians think he'll be okay. But he had 2 hits from Will Wilson, 3 hits from Nolan Jones, everyone's favorite whipping boy in Cleveland right now. 3 hits from Carlos Santana, 3 times on base, a guy people have really been hard on in the early part of the year. José Ramirez stays hot and locked in. Big hit from Angel Martinez. Daniel Schneemann worked a key walk in that inning as well to set up Martinez's home run. The Guardians bash the Dodgers bullpen, and they go into an off day, getting through a very tough stretch against a very tough amount of teams in a short period. They need this rest right now. Hopefully they can get a little bit healthier and move into Friday's weekend matchup with the Angels. Tune in to Locked On Guardians for more.
Coming after your Angels, John. Did you hear that? Be on the lookout.
I'm ready.
Locked On Dodgers with what went wrong for them on this one.
The Dodgers were on their way to completing the sweep of the Guardians, and then Tanner Scott happened, and then Alex Vesia happened. It's Vince from Locked On Dodgers, and while the Dodgers got 4 runs from the offense, 5 innings of 1-run ball from Clayton Kershaw, maybe a little bit lucky on his side of things. It was the bullpen that gave the game away. It was Tanner Scott and Alex Vesia combining for most of those runs in the bottom of the 8th inning. And even though you could say Tanner Scott's outing wasn't terrible, it ultimately led to bad results. And then Alex Vesia comes in and threw a fastball right down the middle for a 3-run home run. The Dodgers lost 7-4. It was, the offense could have been better. The bullpen could have been a lot better. And it's a tough way to end this road trip. What would have been a winning road trip had they closed it out. Ends up 3-3. 500 balls is what we've kind of been saying the Dodgers need over this next month in their tough schedule with their pitchers down. But these are the types of games you have to finish. We'll talk about it more later on Locked On Dodgers, where we get podcasts and on YouTube.
Now, Vince, I think, is being a little kind there because Tanner Scott was horrible. 4 runs on 3 hits and 2/3 of an inning. That's pretty bad.
Not
going to get it done.
Not what you signed him for, that's for sure.
No,
Dodgers signed everybody.
Yeah, 5th blown save for him. So Vince being a little too lenient, I think. Sometimes you got to crack the whip, Vince, and you got to say, yeah, Tanner Scott was poop today. It's okay. John with the win. Cleveland remains 6 games back of Detroit in the AL Central. And you got to be impressed with their ability to keep things afloat right now, despite missing all those guys that Justin mentioned, right?
Yeah, and, we talked about this a few weeks ago where we're talking about José Ramirez. Where is he? Well, he arrived, and he's been awesome. And even that was just a stutter to start the year, right? And then now they're operating with all of these guys down for the count, and they're staying up there. So they're climbing their way into this race. I know that the Tigers seem unbeatable. But at the same time, I think Cleveland, even if they didn't get first place at the end of the year, there's going to be a wild card position for them somewhere, especially with how bad the AL East is right now. The Cleveland Guardians certainly have a lock on some sort of playoff spot. And even if it is a wild card spot, that's not a bad place to be.
Yeah, if you're a Cleveland fan, you're hoping to ride that momentum after getting this win today over LA. Moving on to the Pirates at the Diamondbacks. Pirates had that incredible comeback victory on Tuesday night. It was bonkers, and now they've got their ace Paul Skeens going against the Diamondbacks, who appeared to be in shell shock after what happened to them in last night's game, but have one of their better starters in Zach Gallen on the mound. How would they respond? Well, we've got Gary from Locked On Pirates, and John, he's smiling again. What is Gary so happy about?
Pirates defeat the Arizona Diamondbacks 10-1 in Arizona today. Offensive explosion, 2 games in a row. Henry Davis, central figure again today. O'Neal Cruz, 2-run homer. Everyone hit. IKF stays hot. What more do you want me to say? Oh, it's Gary from Locked On Pirates. Totally forgot to mention Paul Skeens' 6.2 innings of shutout ball to take this one and win the series against the Danger Noodles in Arizona. Beautiful feeling. Beautiful thing. If you want to know why Pirates fans are so frustrated, it's probably because we knew some modicum of this team, like we just saw in these last couple games, was in there. The frustrating thing is it hasn't shown up until now. More on this tomorrow on Locked On Pirates. Make sure you're there.
When Gary's happy, we're all happy, right, John? I mean, look at him. We're getting out of Gary.
I know. That's the most we've seen out of Gary. I love it. Come on. We need more of that, Pirates.
Hasn't had a lot to be excited about so far this year. So good for the Pirates. Yeah. Zach Gallen is what I want to draw the attention to on this one. Get shredded again. 5 innings, 6 runs, 5 earned, 6 hits, 3 walks, 3 Ks. The ERA now at 5.54. If you go back to 2022, he was really, really good back then. 12-4, 2.54 ERA. 2023, 17-9, 3.47 ERA. Last year, 14-6, 3.65 ERA. And you're looking at him now here at the end of May, 3-7, ERA at 5.54. The walks are a real issue, John. He's got 32 of them already this year, the second most in baseball. He just can't seem to find the zone, just can't put guys on at that rate and sustain success. So it's something that, obviously Arizona wasn't banking on because they were expecting a really good Zach Gallen this year. How much is this derailing their plans for competing in the NL West?
Yeah, between him and not quite getting what you wanted out of Corbin Burns, the rotation is supposed to be a huge part of this Diamondbacks team because we know the offense can be there. And I know Corbin Carroll's having a much better season than he did last year. So he seemed to have found it again. But again, it comes back to the pitching with this Diamondbacks team. And if they don't have it, well, then you're going to lose 10-1 to the Pirates. Exactly what happened in the game today.
No. Well, coming up next on MLB Game Night, another walk-off in Milwaukee. Say it ain't so for the Boston Red Sox. We'll get into it next on MLB Game Night. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Then crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving is going to hook you up with 6 grams of protein. That's a big deal. Gives you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help you feel fuller longer, which is the idea when you're trying to shed any sort of weight. It's the snacking that is bad for you when you're watching baseball, when you're watching, Stanley Cup playoffs, NBA basketball, whatever it may be. If you're like me, you're going to want to snack on something. It's just inevitable, right? So if you're going to do that, you got to make the smart decision and snack on something that is super snackable, but also at the same time good for you. That's where Wonderful Pistachios comes into play. Makes it super easy to get that quick protein boost, which is always nice if you're trying to build muscle. And they provide all 9 essential amino acids while you're watching the big game. So get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Thanks again for joining us on MLB Game Night. And we're going to go to Milwaukee for this one. Boston and Milwaukee, frustrating, bad, dumb, annoying. These are things that Red Sox fans have been saying about their team. I'm not saying them. They're saying them over the last few games. They're very frustrated. Today they entered the finale of the series against the Brewers on the verge of being swept. We're going to send it to Chuck Friedman of Locked On Brewers, who will explain the madness once again in Milwaukee.
The Brewers do what they do, and that is take advantage of an opponent just being terrible. And that's what the Boston Red Sox were in this series. Throwing the ball away, making mistakes, getting caught on the base pass. The Red Sox were just terrible, and the Brewers feast on teams like that. At least they have for the last 2 years. Hi, everybody. Chuck Freeman, Instant Reaction, Locked On Brewers. The Red Sox committed 3 errors, and the Brewers had some terrific relief help. Freddie Peralta, 108 pitches through 5 innings, and then the bullpen, as tired as it was, hung in there and did the job. But again, I thought in this series, the Brewers, for completing the sweep, took advantage of many mistakes made by the Red Sox in this series. Man, I don't know how they're only a handful of games over the 500 mark, but this is probably the worst series that they played all year. Meanwhile, the Brewers move on to Philadelphia coming up on Friday. We'll talk about all this coming up on the next edition of Locked On Brewers. Please subscribe.
Sox had the 5-4 lead in the bottom of the 10th in this one. So even if the automated runner, I don't like using ghost runner, John. I don't know how you feel about that, because I can see him.
I like to call it the Manfred Man, like Manfred Man's Earth Band, right?
But a Christian Campbell error allows Sal Frelick to get to third. He scores on that sac fly for the win. Gabby at Locked On Red Sox is sharing her disappointment in this one and what she expects to happen on Thursday.
Boston Red Sox lack serious baseball IQ, and they're a very unprepared team, and that's on the coaching. I'm Gabby Maljanian from Locked On Red Sox, where the Red Sox just lost again in extra innings against the Milwaukee Brewers by a score of 6-5. And what's incredibly disappointing right now is that the Red Sox have dropped 5 straight games. They are on a really bad, awful losing streak right now. Just got swept by the Brewers, made 3 fielding errors in today's game. And they had a base running mistake with Cedam Rafaela literally running into third base when Connor Wong was still on third because he failed to look up to see if there was somebody there. And that is a coaching problem. That starts with the guys running this team not having this team prepared on a day-to-day basis. Now, I don't think it's going to be Alex Cora, but I would not be shocked to see a big move come from the Red Sox organization tomorrow on their off day saying somebody's fired. Tune into Locked On Red Sox for more.
All right. Pew, pew. Gabby firing shots and is ready to fire some people. She don't care who it is. Doesn't think it's the manager, but she thinks something's got to change. And it's certainly something that is very frustrating as a fan when it's like fundamental stuff goes wrong. It's like the basic stuff the little leaguers can get right. And for some reason, your professional baseball team doesn't seem to be able to figure it out. I can understand the pain that Gabby is feeling right now. We all can, can't we, John? Yeah,
and you've been doing this your whole life, guys. So why are you running into each other at third base, that sort of thing? I understand. Trust me, as an Angels fan, I understand Gabby's frustration with the lack of fundamentals this season.
All right, so the White Sox are in New York to take on the Mets, and I mentioned that some of the underdogs had a good day today. Mets looking to complete the sweep of the White Sox in Queens, but Todd Welter of Locked On White Sox explains how Chicago had other plans.
At least the Chicago White Sox are leaving New York with a victory, and Andrew Benintendi getting his timing back is a big reason Chicago salvaged a game in a series they should have won. Hello, I'm Todd Welter, host of Locked On White Sox, and the White Sox crushed the Mets 9-4. Kind of nice to have an easy victory after the White Sox blew a late 1-0 lead on Monday where Chicago just could never put the Mets away. Benintendi got the Sox on the board in the first inning with a 2 RBI double, and the Sox never looked back. Benintendi's 3-for-5 day with 4 RBIs helped bury the Mets as he also crushed a triple and a home run. And if he can get going again, the Sox could have potent bats at the top of the lineup with Mike Tauchman hitting well since returning from the injured list, Chase Maedroth continuing his on-base streak, and Miguel Vargas is on a heater that has gotten to the point that the Mets had no problem walking him. And I'll have more on tomorrow's episode of Locked On White Sox.
Now, John, you told me when we were talking before we started that, you want to gloat a little bit. So talk to me, Goose. What do you got for me?
So all that I heard to start this season from Angels fans was did you see how much the Mets fixed Griffin Canning? The Angels couldn't fix him, and now the Mets fixed him. But JD, baseball has a way of finding you, and over the last 2 starts, it found Griffin Canning. May 23rd against the Dodgers, 2 2/3 innings pitched, 3 earned runs, 4 walks, which was always an issue, 55 pitches. Today against the Mets, 3 innings pitched. I'm sorry, against the White Sox, 3 innings pitched, 4 hits, 5 runs, 3 earned, 4 walks on 80 pitches. This has always been the issue with Griffin Canning. Don't get me wrong. They made him ditch his terrible fastball, which smart Angel fans were all talking about doing last year in favor of the sinker. But I had a little schadenfreude, if you will, for Griffin Canning today. Now, the good news is that the White Sox still piled on Brandon Waddle for 4 earned runs. So I think the damage they did today was legit, not trying to pile on the fact that they went up against a bad start in Griffin Canning. But that's the thing, man, is all I heard to start the season was, well, the Mets fixed Canning, stupid Angels.
Yeah, he was really, really good against the Cardinals in spring training and when they played him at Citi Field. I had him on my fantasy team, but when John is angry about it, I will cut this man immediately from the fantasy team. I will say this because it was one of the earlier games on Wednesday that his defense wasn't helping him out much.
No,
errors started to unravel things for Mr. Canning. All right, Yankees at your Angels, John. We're going to start with Brian from Locked On Yankees in what ended up being a very, very close game.
Complete the sweep of the Los Angeles Angels with a 1-0 victory in Game 3 of the series. Hey, I'm Brian McKeon over at Locked On Yankees, and the Yankees now improved to 5-1 on their West Coast road trip. And get this, the narrative has been starting pitching for the Yankees throughout this entire road trip, but the Yankees starting pitchers only gave up 1 run in Los Angeles against the Angels. You hope they can continue that going into a crucial series against the Dodgers, where it's really going to show if these teams can match up in a rematch of last year's World Series. Catch all of it next week on Locked On Yankees. We'll be breaking all of it down, including Fan Mail Friday, as always. See you there.
Did I hear that correctly, John? 1 run?
1 lousy run.
I want to go Euchre so bad on you right now. All we got was 1 GD run.
Oh, that's how I felt the last few nights. But here's the thing, and I don't have any ill will toward the Yankees, and so I just want to prepare Brian that the Angels' offense sucks right now. It is so bad. They had that 8-game win streak, and they went right back to everything that they were doing wrong. JD, I know you caught the end of that game with that curveball, which is about, 9 feet off the plate to ring up Logan O'Hoppe. But here's the thing. The Yankees scored that run in the first inning against Yusei Kikuchi. The Angels had all game to scratch across 1 run, and they couldn't even do that right. So as they prepare to face the Dodgers, I think that they're a much more potent offense than the Angels has been over these last 3 games against the Yankees.
Yeah, the real thorn in the side of the end of that game with the strikeout of O'Hoppe was really that the same pitch was called a ball against Soler on the walk right before that.
I think Angel Stadium is so old that the whole thing tilted, including the strike zone in the 9th inning. That's what happened.
I was like, my goodness, bro, at least be consistent. But such as umpires in 2025. Moving on to the Giants at the Tigers. Can anyone tame these Tigers? John, they're looking for a sweep of the Giants in Detroit, and Scott Bentley at Locked On Tigers going to share with us how clutch one certain player was for Detroit.
Detroit Tigers sweep the San Francisco Giants, and 14-year-old me back in 2012 cracks a smile. Okay, that's payback. I'm Scott Bentley, host of Locked On Tigers. These Giants are a good ball club, man. That's good pitching, good bullpen, tough lineup, right? Maybe not big names, but a tough lineup to face, and the Detroit Tigers sweep them at home, and the ball just keeps rolling. The Tigers have the best record in baseball still. Justin Henry Malloy with a huge hit in this ball game. Colt Keith has turned it around. You know, he was hitting like $150 at the end of April and now has an OPS that's above league average. Like it has absolutely turned it around. Then you have the bullpen. Tommy Kahnle with one of the most unbelievable relief appearances you'll see. 2 innings of perfect ball to get out of it. Enters in the 8th inning with 2 men in runners in scoring position and no outs. In a 1-run game, doesn't give up a single run, then faces 2-3-4 in the 9th. Has like a 1.5 ERA on the season. This team is unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Most wins in baseball. Off day tomorrow. Royals this weekend. Big series in Kansas City. I'll catch y'all then.
Now, the Tigers, we know, barring some sort of collapse, they should maintain their status as one of the top teams in the American League. They've been strong in basically every way possible. Scott mentioned the Giants' tough lineup. You know, Wilmer Flores, Elliot Ramos, Jung-Hoo Lee, Willie Adames. He's yet to really heat up since his signing with San Francisco. 31-25. They're third in the NOS right now. John, I leave it to you. Are they in the race at the end of the year? And if so, why or why not?
I think they'll get there, especially like you mentioned. They're waiting for guys like Willie Adames to get hot and do what he should be doing, which he has not done yet. And you wonder if it's the contract hangover, right? Like, maybe I won't steal as many bases as I did in my contract.
Look at Juan Soto.
Right.
Right. Let's go, you know?
So I think the Giants, as long as they maintain where they're at, and you know, again, they're third in the NL West, but they're not far behind the Dodgers or the Padres. I think they have 2 more losses than the Padres, but they have the same amount of wins. So really, it's a crapshoot right now. But I think the Giants are going to be in this one until the end.
And I also think that there's certainly a team that has money and is willing to spend when it comes to the trade deadline if they want to take on some sort of contracts, which is, something that not every team can do. But San Francisco appears to be somebody that would be willing to do just that. Moving on to my St. Louis Cardinals at the Baltimore Orioles. Split the first 2 games in this series. The Cardinals, John, didn't even think they were going to play. I didn't think they were going to play. It had been raining all freaking day in Baltimore, so much that the team actually extended their hotel stay through Thursday or through Wednesday into Thursday, and had new keys made for their players and staff earlier in the day. It was soggy. It was dreary. It was gross at Camden Yards. Both teams just wanted to get the game in, though. They were willing to do and play in this so they could have a full off day on Thursday. O's jumped on St. Louis starter Miles Mikolas early on in this one. They get 3 runs against him in the second inning. He lasted only 4 innings. He'd been really, really good, but this is one of those bad games for Mikolas. 4 innings, gives up 4 runs on 9 hits. He was up in the zone a lot, and the Orioles were tagging him all over the park. But this Cardinal team doesn't quit, John. They just don't. They get 2 in the 4th on a 2-out, 2-run single from Jordan Walker, who is starting to look more and more comfortable at the plate. He's looking a little dangerous these days. Then in the 5th inning with the score 4-2, Mason Wynn hits an RBI double, and that's followed up by a 2-run shot by Brendan Donovan, who returned to the lineup after sitting out last game with some hip tightness. Top 3 in the Cardinals order in this game go 9 for 15 with 6 runs scored and 3 RBIs. They were nuts. It was Nootbaar, it was Wynn, it was Donovan. Every time they came up, something good happened for this team. They absolutely led the way in this one. Bullpen, got to give them credit. They throw 5 shutout innings. Cardinals escape with a 6-4 win and a series win, and will now head to Texas to take on the Texas Rangers. Now, coming up, the team that the Cardinals are chasing had their hands full once again with the worst team in baseball. We're talking Cubs and Rockies next on MLB Game Night. All right, Wrigley Field is where we go. The Colorado Rockies taking on the Chicago Cubs. Cubs looking for the sweep at Wrigley. A few games ago, Sam Olber of Locked On Cubs questioned why the back end of the bullpen seemed to be in flux. But with Porter Hodge on the IL, someone had to step up in his absence. Let's hear from Sam and find out who did it.
Daniel Palencia, come on down. The Chicago Cubs sweep the Colorado Rockies by a score of 2-1. Feel like a broken record in this series. Not pretty, not a lot of offense, got to find a way. But Daniel Palencia, whoa. How about that story? We talked about yesterday, Matt Shaw getting sent down, coming back up, being the walk-off hero. How about Daniel Palencia? Gets the opportunity a couple weeks back in Miami, last week. Gets walked off, was really kind of a tough loss, and you thought, all right, well, that was just a one-time thing. Counsell sticks with him, and he has looked really good in the closer role, better and better each time. And I thought on Wednesday night, that was about as nasty as he's looked in a Cub uniform. Hit 102, was locating pitches, did what he needed to do. And, man, if the Cubs could have a weapon like that at the back end of their bullpen with Daniel Palencia, that would do wonders, especially when Porter Hodge comes back. Cubs get the sweep, 14 games over 500, day off Thursday. The Redlegs come in. let's get the bats going again this weekend.
All right, now, John, you're an expert. When Sam first spoke about Daniel Palencia, you only mentioned he had closer stuff, and it sounds like it's working, doesn't it?
Yeah, he's throwing 102. He's got the slider to play off that. And so, with Porter Hodge out, give the guy a chance. It sounds like it's working to me, JD.
Yeah, PCA homers again. He's been incredible so far this season. Seiya Suzuki with another RBI and a double continues to be at the top of the RBI list among all hitters in baseball. Sam mentioned the offense, 3-1 win on Monday, 4-3 win on Tuesday, 2-1 win today. Do you feel like they should be worried at all about these games where they were playing down to their competition, or was Colorado playing up to what they were taking on in Chicago?
It's interesting to watch Colorado pitching outside of Coors Field, and really,
right?
100%. And so I think that has a lot to do with it. I don't know if it's the cold weather, cold bats, that sort of thing. So the fact that they played these close games, Sam's going to want their team, his Cubbies, to get hot again, because when you're barely outscoring the Rockies here, that's a little cause for concern. But I do think it speaks to the Rockies pitching to some extent when they're out of Coors Field.
Yeah, it's not quite as bad as it may seem, but at the same time, they still lost all the games, so maybe they do suck. All right, Chicago Cubs, Sam just mentioned that the Redlegs were coming to town next. Reds were in Kansas City to face the Royals. Reds looking to sweep KC in this finale, and the Royals are always looking for more offense. Did they have enough to salvage this series in Kansas City? And per usual, you got the Royals with another tight game because that's what they play. But the Royals came away with the 3-2 win. Bobby Witt Jr. knocked in 2 of the 3 runs. But the story was Royals starter Noah Cameron. Here's Jack Johnson from Locked On Royals about the rookie.
The Royals avoid a sweep tonight after beating the Cincinnati Reds 3-2. I'm the host of Locked On Royals, Jack Johnson, giving you a few takeaways from tonight's game. Number 1 being, how impressive has Noah Cameron been since joining this rotation? I know he made a spot start in Tampa, but since taking over in this rotation after Cole Reagans and Seth Lugo went on the IL, he just continues to shove, and that was no different tonight. What's been maybe the most impressive part is in his last 2 starts, he's faced off with Pablo Lopez, the ace of the Minnesota Twins, and then you get Hunter Green tonight, the ace of the Cincinnati Reds, and yet he held his own in both starts, gave up only 2 total runs in those 2 starts, and was able to get a quality start out of both of them. He was the reason they were able to win tonight. Also want to give credit to Jonathan India. In the 3 games against his former team, he picks up 5 hits and had one hell of a play in the 9th inning that was able to pick up Carlos Estevez' 15th save of the season. It was also a 4-out save for Estevez. Now the Royals will get the off day tomorrow and then have a massive series against the first place Tigers beginning on Friday.
Yeah, talking about Noah Cameron, the rookie there, he was outstanding, wasn't he, John?
Yeah, 6 in the 3rd inning, 1 run on 6 hits, lowered his ERA to 1.05. He took a no-hitter into the 6th or 7th the last time out, and so here he is again doing some crazy things. Speaking of crazy things, he hasn't allowed more than 1 run in any of his 4 starts. He's pitched into the 7th inning in all 4 of those starts. That makes him just the 2nd pitcher since, JD, 1893.
Oh yeah, I mean, who could forget?
Here we go. 6 1/3 plus innings with 1 run or less in his first 4 MLB starts, according to Elias Sports Bureau. The first was Cody Anderson for Cleveland in 2015. So there you go.
All right. Noah Cameron doing good things. Nationals at the Mariners. Seattle trying to stay ahead of the Stros, who they've caught fire recently.
Yeah.
George Kirby on the hill for Seattle, making just his 2nd start of the season. Things did not go well for George Kirby, did they, John?
No, he got shellacked once again. 5 innings, 6 runs, 7 hits, and 3 home runs. He's got 2 starts so far. Neither of them have been close to anything good. Definitely not George Kirby-like outings that we're used to seeing. He's allowed 11 runs in 8 2/3. He's got an ERA of 11.42. Biggest issue here, JD, is just missing over the heart of the plate, not being able to put the ball where he needs it to go. And he's coming off a long stint, a long injury. And so he's got to get right at some point. That rotation really needs him, especially with Logan Gilbert and Bryce Miller down right now. So, the strength of the Mariners is always their pitching. Obviously, their offense has been great this season, but, that's somebody that they're really going to need.
Yeah. Speaking of good offenses, Washington doing some big things in this one. They belt 4 home runs. James Wood, who looks to be a star in the making, 2 for 4, 3 RBIs, one of them coming on his 15th home run of the season, a 435-foot blast into right center, 113.5 off the bat. And Robert Hassel III, who was also a part of the Juan Soto trade like Wood was, goes 3 for 5 with 2 RBIs, hits his first big league bomb. So congratulations to him. You see all this young talent in Washington, and although it hasn't clicked quite as much as they hoped it would early on, you can see why the future is bright in DC, can't you, John?
Absolutely. Yeah, they're a lot of fun to watch. I know they don't have a winning record, but, stay tuned in on the Nationals because they're going to be really fun.
All right, moving on to the Marlins at the Padres, another David versus Goliath situation with the Padres firmly established as one of the best teams in the NL West. The Marlins already being discussed as a team that is going to be making some deals at the trade deadline. A lot of attention on Sandy Alcantara, who was the starter in this one, had another poor outing. Padres jumped out to a 6-1 lead early, but the Marlins come back with 5 of their own in the 5th inning, thanks to home runs from Jesus Sanchez and Otto Lopez. Padres would reclaim this lead. Gavin Sheets hits a dinger in the 7th, but the Marlins would not be denied. They played 3 in the 8th. They go on to win it 10-8. The guy that led the charge in this one, Agustin Ramirez, rookie catcher, who was batting leadoff, was doing the DH duties today. 4 for 5, 4 RBIs, including his 7th home run of the season. Alcantara has not looked good, so I'm curious to see what his going rate will be if he does get traded, because it has been ugly. A's at Astros. Tell us about this one, John.
Yeah, A's have fallen apart this month, and the Astros have not. They have tons of momentum right now. They're trying to catch the Mariners in the AL West. A great start from Lance McCullers, striking out 12 over 6 innings. It was a 5-3 win for the Stros. But bad news, Ronel Blanco is headed for Tommy John surgery, out for the year. They also lost Hayden Wesneski a couple weeks ago to Tommy John. So all in all, they have 6 starting pitchers on the IL. 4 of them are having Tommy John surgery. Houston, we have a problem, and it's Tommy John surgery.
Yes, we do. Twins at Rays. Rays take this one by a score of 5-0. Solid pitching matchup going into it. Pablo Lopez for the Twins, Drew Rasmussen for the Rays, and something had to give, and that thing that gave away was Lopez.
That's right.
5 innings, 4 runs, 7 hits, gives up 2 bombs, 2 walks, 3 Ks, tied for the lowest strikeout total in a game this season for him. Meanwhile, Rasmussen tosses 6 shutout innings, allows just 1 hit, 5 strikeouts, moves to 4-4, drops his ERA to 2.33, which is in the top 10 in all of Major League Baseball. Blue Jays at Rangers. How did this one turn out, John?
Man, both of these teams have not put up much offense and scoring. A 2-1 victory for the Blue Jays on Monday, 2-0 Rangers win on Tuesday. So how did this one end up? How about a scoreless game until the top of the 9th, JD? How about a 2-run homer from someone who wasn't even in the starting lineup? It was Bo Bichette coming off the bench with a 2-out, 2-run home run. By the way, he was out of the lineup because he had lower back soreness, and apparently it's because he's carrying this team to a win over the Rangers. So the guy with back problems is the one to get it done for Toronto to take the series over the Rangers.
Bo's like, Vladdy, help me out, dog. You're the one with all the money. I'm dying out here. This is tough. Other game that was supposed to be played, Braves and Phillies. That one got rained out. It's going to be made up on Thursday as a split doubleheader. Day-night doubleheader. A.J. Smith-Shawver versus Christopher Sanchez in Game 1. That should be good, but the highlight is the night game, Chris Sale against Zach Wheeler in Game 2, so that should be very, very interesting. Thank you for joining us for this episode of MLB Game Night. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We hope you come back and visit us next time right here on MLB Game Night, every game, every night.